Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm gonna wait for this little thing to kind of engage, and we'll do our little live for today. I'm out here on our little weekly project, just kind of cruising around, and a little earlier than normal. Look at that. We got sunlight. It's coming through the roof, through the door, and everything. It's pretty cool. So today, I thought we'd talk a little bit about how a lot of times people's confidence collapses randomly when they're least expecting it. Like maybe they'll be out riding and they thought they warmed their horse up and they thought things were going good and then just fall apart. I actually just got a message on our equine master class a few minutes ago that I just opened up, and it's one of the new members. And long story short, she sounds like she's got a horse that she bought. It was pretty well trained. She rode it in a round pen, walk, trot, canter, stop, turn, roll back, leg yields, all the things in a round pen, I guess. And she got it home, and um, it was just all sweaty and weird from the travel and stuff. And then she rode it for a few days, and then I think on like the fifth day or something, it just bucked her off. And I hear this story quite a bit, and a lot of times what that is, especially if the horse was actually good, first thing people say is, oh, the horse was drugged and this, that, and the other. And my experience has been like maybe sometimes, but oftentimes it's not. It's the change of environment. We got a new horse in here this winter, and same deal. It seemed like a quiet horse or whatever, but his toughest ride was this first day being rode. And we had to work through some stuff. I wouldn't say it was horrible or anything, but we had to work through some stuff. And he's been really good ever since. But, if I would have just assumed that he was going to be good, then I might not have prepared him for what potentially was coming. Because, like, the rule of thumb is this: like, if you don't know the horse, you don't know the horse. It doesn't matter how somebody represents it. Because, honestly, the horse may represent well with a person, but when it goes to the other one, it totally changes. And I don't, I think sometimes folks with horses, it's a little hard to tell. But if we had a dog, I think people would totally understand. How many of you have seen a dog that'll just run up and jump on its owner and followed around everywhere and all happy to see it and all the things? And as soon as a stranger comes up of any kind, it could be a kid or anything, those dogs lock up. They get all sulky and weird and timid or whatever it is. Like they'll change sometimes, right? And then the owner shows up and everything's good. But it might take like a week or two for, say, that kid or the other person to have that dog on their own to make any changes in that dog because they're just accustomed to the owner. And now I don't know that horses connect up quite the same as a dog because a dog's a predator, right? And we're predators, and dogs they're just a whole different demeanor. You start hollering a dog's name a little bit and talking to him funny, he'll start wagging his tail and his body and his everything, right? And horses don't really do that. They don't engage in the same way. I'm not saying they're not happy to see you, but I think we could all agree that a horse doesn't wag his tail when when you holler at him, right? You're lucky to get him to even look at you. Now I know there might be a few people on the whole internet here that would challenge that, but just send me a video of your horse frolicking towards you. And I don't mean in his paddock. I mean, haul him out in the middle of the national forest, turn him loose, walk away, and then call him and see what happens. Okay, not in a non-reality area. It'd be like, oh, my dog loves me, and he walked up to him in the kennel, right? Like in a realistic situation at a dog park, right? If the dog loves you at home, he's probably gonna love you in a dog park. A lot of horses they might like you at home. They're not going to like you at the horse park. Okay. So, anyway, just try to make that realistic, but they engage in a little different ways. So, what I would say is when you get your uh, confidence burst randomly, they're like, say you're just riding along, and then all of a sudden, your horse just kind of panics and then just spooks and starts doing some stuff and flying around, and you're just not ready for it. uh you probably weren't prepared for it. What I tell people all the time is like, you got to swing the pendulum. And we talk about the pendulum a lot in our horsemanship classes, but the short, simple version of the pendulum is I like to swing the horse's energy all the way up and all the way back several times before I ride them. I don't just like what people do is like, and you see this in the colt starting videos on TikTok sometimes, the people that don't really know what they're doing a lot of the times, they'll just be like, well, we're just gonna, the person with the shorts and the sandals is gonna lead the rider who is somewhat athletic and ready to go around the pen, and we're just gonna walk, right? And then you see this video, this horse just coming up, like they crawl on it and everything seems quiet. And then, man, that horse doesn't just like crow hop around or make a wrong turn or something. I mean, they just flow in two and just go stupid, right? We've all seen those videos. Well, typically what that is a lack of preparation. And they did not swing the pendulum. And the pendulum in that point case would be like, put the saddle on, get that horse to walk, trot, lope, trot, walk, stand, walk, trot, lope, run, trot, walk, stand, switch directions, walk, trot, lope, run, both like from the ground. And maybe even in a bigger area, like saddled up, like cinched up, front cinch, back cinch, breast collar, the whole things, and warm that thing up. Maybe turn them loose with another horse, a buddy of his or something, so they can kind of bump around and out there. And so there aren't any surprises when you crawl on. Now, I'm not saying that's 100% guaranteed, but I promise you, most of those folks that are getting canned that hard probably didn't do anything like that. And if they, if they did, they probably just trotted the horse a little bit, called it good, and got on. But obviously, there's unique circumstances on some of those things for sure. But in general, if a horse is started, in a decent program, they probably aren't ever going to go catatonic. I'm not saying you'll never get bucked off a horse, but like, those things are pretty explosive on the TikTok. So, uh, and like, let's say I knew a horse was going to buck and I didn't think there was anything I could do to keep him out of it. Honestly, I'm probably going to help him buck a little bit. Like, I'm not going to make him buck, but like, I'm going to put him in a situation that he might think about bucking. Like, we had a horse here the other day. Uh, they sent in a video. He rides good. This guy's doing like half passes at the trot and extended trot and all these things, like beautiful. And in an English saddle though. And we get this horse, we put a Western saddle on it, put a back cinch on it, and this thing goes catatonic. I'm like, holy, and I mean, not just like a little bit. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just going to be today. Well, and the next day it did, and the next day it did. I was like, holy smokes, we got to start shutting this down. And then so I was like, let's start checking a few things out. So one day I just hung a lead rope off the saddle, short lead rope, like a 10-footer. We just wrapped it around the saddle horn, clipped it in there, and it just was hanging, just hanging off the side. That thing kicked at that rope for like an hour. Like just walking around, kick, trotting around, kick at it, loping around, kick at it. This is all, he's just loose on his own. Nobody's chasing him or nothing. He's just kicking at that thing. I thought, holy smoke. So when I say swing the pendulum, that would be an example. Like for that horse, man, like probably hang a lead rope off him for a few days or something to expose it. Not that you're trying to like make him buck, but in that moment, he's like, I think this makes sense for me to buck, and just kind of let him work through. My point is this. I'm not saying you had to do any of that, but if you're going to ride that horse and he's a little bit goofy about stuff and you're not going to address it, you're going to choose the other way, which a lot of people try, which is not, I don't think is as fair to the horse. There's a difference between being a calm leader versus being an avoider. Put a one in the chat if you know an avoider. Like an avoider would be like, loud noises bother this horse. There's no loud noises in this barn. Dogs bother this horse. Everybody lock your dogs up. I'm going to put them in the round pen. Like quick movements bother this horse. Everybody chill, right? That's an avoidance technique, right? That's not good. That's not going to work. I promise you that'll never work. It's never worked. It has like a very false sense of security. That's the problem. You might think it starts to work and then it fail you and your confidence just get just thrown out the door. The problem with that is if you're going to ride the horse in the world is pressure, right? Even just two horses riding together on a trail ride, quiet, you're not doing anything, you're not making noise, there's no dog, there's nothing, and then the buddy leaves, and then you're screwed because that's a lot of pressure to that horse, and that horse didn't create any pressure, he just left. But in the horse's mind, that's pressure because he's a herd animal and now his herd is gone. So, uh, what would be a better option is to be maybe a calm leader, right? A focused leader, an intent leader that's understanding what's going on in front of them. So maybe the horse rears up or bolts or something, and instead of maybe punishing him, just redirect him somewhere else calmly. Like, okay, he's starting to run off. How about we calmly turn him into the wall, calmly disengage his hindquarters, but be particular about it? Like, don't just let him run off and be stupid about it, but like you start putting some things in line, um, but quietly. Like, you're not being overly aggressive. You might have to be a little firm at times, but you're not like making an emotional agenda about it. You're just reaching down there. So, how would I answer this gal? It's like, well, check out. Uh, your warm up and check out some of your basic principles. And, also, too, like in this case, I would not be afraid to call up the old trainer. I bought horses or sold horses and different things. And sometimes they just have little quirks, that you need to be aware of. Like, I had a horse one time, I had to warm her up for like an hour before I rode her for a long time. And it's not like running her into the ground, but like, really get her connected and do the groundwork and send her around and then walk her around quietly. And then she'd ride all day and she'd be good. But boy, if you skip that warm up, you're screwed. And then I've had other horses where honestly you wouldn't want to do too much warm up because you'd be out of horse, like physically, like it's not like they were old. They just had only so much to give you for the day. And if you took it all out of them in the groundwork because you were worried about everything, next thing you know, you don't have anything in that horse. Like, it's just, they don't have enough to give you. They're all different there, right? So you just kind of find a sweet spot for these horses. So if I were that lady, first thing I'd do is call the old trainer. I mean, when you're trying to figure things out and guess, obviously the horse was going good. I mean, it sounds like the first ride went really good, and you wouldn't have probably sounds like you wouldn't have bought the horse if it wasn't good. The other thing I mentioned to her was this is she said it was like a Pepto Boone small bred. I think she said it was a cutting horse. Like, she probably bought like a border collie, not like a chocolate lab or something, right? And if you know what I mean, like, it's a little hard to tell with horses sometimes what they are because if you're not standing directly next to each other, they all kind of look similar-ish, in a photo. I mean, like, obviously a Tennessee Walker doesn't look like a cutting horse, but like, if you're just glancing at the horse, you wouldn't be able to tell. Now, if you're looking at a dog, you're like, that is a border collie, right? It's got maybe a white stripe around its neck. It's sleek and low to the ground. Its tail sets a certain way, and then the lab is obviously different. Like, can we all agree that you would never mistake a chocolate lab for a border collie? Okay, I'm mature. Like, if you took a 6-year-old chocolate lab that was on a feeding plan, okay, and a 6-year-old border collie, there would be no mistaking which is which, right? Okay. So, but with horses, it's a little bit different. So, if you're buying a looky-loo quarter horse that's like wanting to cut cattle and do things, like, they're a bit more sensitive sometimes, or they wouldn't be able to do that job, right? That's why you don't see your typical black lab, chocolate lab, whatever, like running up the mountain and herding cattle. I'm not saying one couldn't, but y'all know what I mean. Like, he's probably not going to do it. And if you found one that could, he's probably got like 1/8 border collie in him or something like that, right? Some kelpie or something snuck in there. But so you got to be really careful with the breeding of these horses, and it can go both ways. Maybe you want a horse that goes and does stuff, but then you've got a horse as bred to just be real quiet. You're kind of going to have to push on them to get anything out of them. So that would be another thing. And then the tough part was it's just kind of normal thing with people and their horses. Unfortunately, is the horse had gotten injured out in the pasture at some point, messed up a tendon, and now they're trying to nurse it back. And so the vet's like, you can't do this, that, and the other. The old vet list, right? Straight lines only, and this, that, like all the stuff, right? So it's like, how do you rehab a horse mentally and emotionally that you can't do things physically with? So essentially, I told her to quiet things down, go slowly and stuff. But if the horse has a lot of energy and you're not supposed to do certain exercises, what I really like, you just got to let that horse heal. It's kind of like, how these horse people are, because you guys probably are one. You fall off your horse, you break your leg or something, and then like 2 days later, you're like, I got to ride. right? No, go heal first. I mean, if you're a professional horse trainer and you got income coming or whatever, like, okay, sneak some rides, but like go heal first before you go and get crazy about it, right? Heal up before you go. So if you can, just turn that horse out or keep him in his pad or whatever the routine is to get him healed up, and let him heal. Because if you're trying to, like, if he truly doesn't have a foundation on him and you're trying to heal him up, man, that's like you're trying to put a foundation and heal. That's a tough combo. So many times in the past, I have, like, and I'm not saying you guys need to do this, but I look at the horse and I'm like, he don't look good. He looks sick. He looks this, that, the other. He looks lame. As long as his leg's not like falling off. 80 to 90% of the time, I'm more than likely going to just turn the horse out on a large pasture and let him be for a while. Like I might come see him in 6 months or a year. Like I'm obviously checking on him, but I'm just letting him heal himself out in the open. And if he comes in and he's healed, we're good to go. Now I'm not saying you need to do that. And obviously, if you took the horse in and he had some weird thing wrong with him that needed stall rest or whatever, you got to do that. I'm not just saying just every horse, but in many instances, turning them out, just letting them heal on their own, when that is available, seems to work. Because what I've found is this: like you might say, that's a bad idea, Steve. And I was like, well, for every time that's been a bad idea, I can probably give you two instances where keeping them bottled up has been even worse, because on certain horses, not all of them, they're not used to being bottled up. So you end up colicking them. They could die of the colic. They end up casting themselves in the stall. They get other injuries. They slip and fall in the barn or something because they're so bottled up, and you take them out to try to do things. They could injure you in those moments. Like there's other factors, I guess, that a person needs to kind of calculate. So I'm not saying don't go to the vet. Go to the vet if you need to go to the vet. I'm just saying, if you've gone to the vet and all that, like probably just let that sucker rest. So anyway, and then the final thing I mentioned is like work on your balance exercises with that horse. And what does that mean? It means make sure that, like, well, we'll just go through some things here. Let me flip this camera around here with this horse. Where are we? Front camera, I think. Back camera? Yeah. Okay. So I might pick up here and then just see, like, here. I know the video is backwards for you guys, but so I'll just say I'm going right, but I'm actually going left. Okay. So like he turns one way, and then here he turns the other, and this is starting to equal up here. This is starting to get a little bit better. Okay. So, and then forward. Okay. And then back. Now, obviously, she's not going to be riding that horse, but are these in balance? Like, it took me about the same amount of effort to do all of that: forwards, backwards, left, and right. Probably the worst one was the backup. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like the others. Like, I like the backup. His head maybe come up a little bit, but he just floats around here in all directions. So, what I would start with on the ground is I get that working at a walk with that horse. And in doing so, you're probably going to find some things that are not balanced with that horse. And when you find those imbalances, that's going to lead you down the pathways of finding out what the actual missing piece is. Like, let's say you're working this horse and he's just rearing up and striking at you or something. Okay. And so you're like, I got to fix the striking. But in doing so, you find out he doesn't back, like, at all. Well, that's part of the striking issue, is he doesn't have any give to him in reverse. So instead of worrying about the striking and stuff so much, like, I'd stay out of his way. I'd just work on his backup for a while, maybe from a distance, obviously, or what have you. But work on these things from a distance and get him good. So, because probably by the time he starts backing and pivoting better, I bet he's not striking or biting and things like that. We had a gal the other uh, month at a clinic. She showed him this horse was nipping her. And I says, do you back him? And she's like, yeah, I back him. And I says, show me your backup. And so she backs him up. And honestly, it wasn't that good. I mean, did he back? Yeah, I mean, he backed, but he didn't back as good as I would want to see one for also being a biter. So I took the horse and I was like, here, let me work with this for a little bit, and I got him backing quite a bit, and then I hand the rope back to her, and she's like, oh, I didn't back, I've never backed him like that. And I says, well, I mean, there's different levels of backup, and what the difference was she was backing him, and then when I took him, I taught him to back for me. There was a difference. Instead of me backing, I had to back him at first, but then he started helping me in the backup versus me doing everything. And we've all probably noticed the difference on certain horses uh, in that situation. So I just took it to the next level of responsibility. And that would probably be the other thing I'd mentioned to that gal. It's like, hey, at what point do you feel like your horse is responsible for the things that he does know? You know, like, let me try this. Turn this around, back camera. I'm just going to try it. So I'm going to set my hand down here, okay? And I might help him a little here. I'll just pick up for a second. I haven't hardly got him warmed up yet. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to put my hand away. Okay, one's on the phone. Oh, right there. See how he stopped and then he went? There. So that's all him. Like I'm not holding him like in the turn, right? Now I'm gonna try here to the right. So I'm gonna start him a little bit with my rein, but I'm gonna set my hand down. It's just setting here on the horn, and then see if he stays. Okay. So see, like right there, he stops. So I might pick up, then I'll bump him, but I'm not bumping him the whole time. See, I'm not pulling on him the whole time. Right there, he stops again. I might bump him again. Says, hey, you need to kind of help me out here a little bit with this there, and then I'll let you be. Okay. So just little things like that. They have to be um, kind of caught up a little bit. So, um, well, here I am caught on a horse, and I think we got a package coming. So let me just a sec here. Um, oops, wrong button. 1 second. I'll let you look at the horse. I got to send a message, get this package signed for. Da-da. Okay, I think they got it. Let's see. Just checking the messages here. Roger. Okay, they got it. Okay. Let me flip this thing back around. Where is my buttons? Oops. So many buttons here. Okay, we're back. Um, So just some things to think about. That's a whole lot of things. So what does it come down to? The confidence situation. A lot of it's preparation. Okay. So it's the year of the horse, right? This is if there were to be a year where we should all get off our ass and choose this, this is the year of the horse. So what we got going here at the School of Horse, which is up near Spokane, Washington, is we'd put on 8 to 10 camps a year. What's a camp? A camp is like a full immersion uh, environment where we just do horses all day, 5 days straight with a bunch of like minded people. We've been doing these camps here for almost 20 years. And we just get really, really good people in here that are looking to transform not just their horses, but themselves. And there's something pretty cool about the environment out here. Like people really, really, really um, make some big changes out here. And that's what it's all about. I want people to be confident, know why they should be confident, how to get confident. I want them to understand the maneuvers, how to execute the maneuvers, how to fix things. When they don't really know how to fix things, they have a list that they can go down like, okay, when I don't know what to do, this is how I engage the issue. And this is where I start so that I can kind of like assess the situation when Steve is not around or my other coach or whatever's going on. I have the confidence to kind of get in here and like change my own oil, check my own tire pressure, you know, adjust the carburetor a little bit, just some basics on a horse. You know, maybe not rebuild the whole engine, but just get the engine that you do have running better, but it's in horse terms. Okay. So that's what the Horse Creek Ranch is. It's a transformation location for people that are serious about their horses. And there's only a few of them out there. Like there's a lot of horse trainers and different things out there, but I promise you, one, there's not a single place like what I offer here. And anything that is similar, I don't think there's any in the Northwest. I would say anybody that's even close to what we do, which I don't think there is anybody that does what I do. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I'm just saying this is such a unique program. Um, you probably have to travel at least 400 miles, 500 miles just from right here to get to another location that offers anything even close. I mean, there's like dude ranches and stuff out there if you want to like watch somebody play the guitar and, you know, swing around the dance floor and all that type guest ranch, sit in the hot springs or which kind of sounds right nice right now in these bibs, but um, this is a transformation location. People don't come here just to hang out. They come here to make a difference in their lives and their horses' lives because people, they invest a lot. They invest so much. You know, like how many of you have a truck that's worth more than your horse, right? How many of you got a barn that's worth more than your horse? How many of you got a trailer that's worth more than your horse? We do a lot of things to help these horses out. And I'm not saying your horses are cheap or anything. I'm just saying the overall budget, and you guys probably agree with this, the cheapest part of the whole scenario is that. I'm not talking about the bridle. Okay. Of course, that's fairly cheap, actually, in comparison. But the horse is the cheapest part of the equation in this whole thing when you're starting to compare it to your truck and trailer and barn and fencing and all the things that go with it. So it's good to invest in your education and so that you can have an understanding of how all these things work. And because sometimes it is down to that split decision where you just don't know what exactly you need to do, but you do need to know. You need to rise. And what I tell people is this is when the pressure comes, my clients, ideally, when they get through the program properly, they're the ones that call for the ball. They're like, give me the ball. And I want to be riding a horse that's like, give me the ball. I don't want to be riding a cowardly horse that's like, no, give the ball to somebody else. Not just because he likes sharing, because he don't want the ball. Those kind of horses are kind of dangerous to ride because, like, right when you need them, they bail. So we teach you like how to turn these horses into winners, and maybe it is in the horse show ring, but it could just be a winner in life, like out on the trail or something. So that they're just mentally and emotionally with you and helping take care of things. So anyway, if you guys are interested in that, just reach down here. I think it's been scrolling by here. equinemasterclass.com / early bird 2026. That special is good until January 15th. And that baby's out the door. So I try to make these things as reasonable as possible for people. Like it is priced uh, because it's a good program. But I try to, if you want to commit to yourself and your horse early, I try to make it reasonable so that you guys can do that. I know everything in the world has gone up in price. I did not raise my prices this year. It's probably the only thing on the planet that has not increased in price is my program this year. We raised it last year, but and then I don't think I'd raised it for like 10 years or something like that. So anyway, just enough for us to feed these horses here and kick things down the road for the other clinics and stuff like that. But all right, just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. And then the other thing too, if you're still on here, we are going to have a very detailed workshop webinar type thing, but it's going to be a Facebook Live on Thursday night at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to be in the studio. And we're going to be working on a bunch of stuff horse wise in there, just talking about stuff. So if you guys get a chance to see that Thursday, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, that'd be Thursday, the 15th of January, in case you're coming across this in like February for the replay. So, all right, well, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and appreciate you guys. Have a good day out there. Be safe with your horses, and we'll see you guys another time.